This is NFA Talk, the show that talks about guns and gun rights, keeping you up to date with what's currently going on, from the newest guns, promotions, and events, plus how we're lobbying for your rights.
Hey everybody, it's time for another episode of NFA Talk. Today we have special guests. We have Team NFA with us. We have Ryan Elden and Larissa Black. And of course, joining me as always, Sheldon Clare, the president of Canada's National Firearms Association. Hey everybody, how's it going?
Great, Jordan. Thanks again. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's going good. Happy to be able to chat with you guys.
Yeah, it's great. Great to be on. Thanks for having us.
Sure. So, Ryan and Larissa are accomplished Canadian biathletes, and they've just returned from Europe, where they were competing at Obertilliach in Austria, and you were in the Junior World Championships, if I've got that right. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And as far as I understand, the Canadian team did spectacularly well over there, and I'd like to hear from you guys about that, but perhaps a little bit of background. I mean, I've known both of you as being strong biathlon family members in the north. Ryan, you started out in Quesnel, and Larissa, of course, in Squamish. You're kind of a southerner, but I mean, I have had to move your rifle around once, as I recall, and
Yeah.
You've been up and competed in the north in our areas up here where we have biathlon near Prince George. We've got a pretty active community in British Columbia in biathlon. And, you know, it's interesting to see how you've developed from younger athletes into getting on the world stage and now representing Team NFA. It's pretty cool. So, Ryan, do you want us to tell us a little bit about your experience in Obertilliach?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was great. It was the venue was amazing. The town we were in and our accommodations were probably some of the best that we've been in over there. So that was really cool. The weather and course was fantastic. It was maybe a little bit warm, so the conditions were challenging, but the organizing committee did a good job of keeping the course as good as it could possibly be, I think. Yeah, the team did great. Some good results, yeah. Mine not so good, but not exactly what I was looking for, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Team did 13th in the relay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, team effort. It was the boys did all the work before me, so I was on the last leg, and they put me in a good spot, made it easy.
Well, it's a pretty respectable finish against the kind of caliber of competition that's present in Europe. I know that, so that's all right. So, Larissa, what were your impressions about competing over there? You've been to Europe before, haven't you?
Yeah. I went to World Juniors last year as well. They were in Switzerland last year. Yeah, this course was definitely easier than the one in Switzerland. I think Ryan can agree with that. Less hilly for sure. But yeah, we raced in the morning, so it wasn't as hot for us. I think the girls had a bit of an advantage there for sure because, yeah, in the afternoon, I think it definitely warmed up a lot and the course got a bit sloppy. But yeah, I was pretty happy with my results. It was sort of the same as last year. I was hoping to improve a bit more, but yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes with the shooting accuracy if it's not there. So,
well, you had one bad round of shooting, and the others were, okay.
Yeah. I started out not so well, but yeah, I was happy to improve it as the week went on. Thankfully.
So it's a lot of pressure competing on the international stage, and you didn't have the spectators here this time, I guess, because of the whole pandemic thing. Is that right?
Yeah, there was no one watching. They actually set up little wooded figures along the course that were dressed in winter clothes, so that was funny. But yeah, no real people. So.
Yeah, and I know from watching biathlon and myself, being a technical delegate, as I took my little training course, I know the energy that comes from having a crowd cheering you on, and you can see that in the athletes, and I just wonder how that affected people's results. I guess everybody's got the same problem, right? When there's nobody cheering, but they have tape cheering or anything like that. Ryan, what was your impression?
I think the range was probably a bit more calm than normal. They still had like an announcer in the stadium commentating, and so there were still some things going on, but definitely not the same kind of loud cheers for the home nation that we're used to. The on course was still all right. There were lots of coaches and some of the other athletes who weren't racing on the day were out there cheering for us. So it wasn't dead silent out there for sure.
That's one of the things I really found about biathlon. Although it's a very competitive sport and largely an individual competitive one, the community seems very friendly. And you don't find this in some sports where it's, you put your war face on and you don't talk to the other folks. Biathlon isn't like that at all. Has that been your experience, Larissa?
Yeah, it's definitely, when you go overseas, you expect it to be a bit intimidating with all the really, talented teams out there. But yeah, if you just get talking with people, they're very keen to give you advice. And, I think that's really special because as different nations come together, you don't really see that. Yeah, like I've made friends from other teams. This year was a bit different. We weren't really allowed to socialize with anyone else. So that made it a bit difficult to, get advice from other athletes. But yeah, in normal years, you can usually, talk to people that are staying at the same hotel as you. And as you're training, you smile at each other when you pass each other as you're going to the start line. So yeah, it's special for sure.
Wish each other luck and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's much more collegial than many other sports I've found.
Yeah, especially within the team, like within our Canadian team as well. Like we're all willing to give each other advice on the course and shooting range conditions. And, even though we're competing against each other, we're still supporting each other till the end. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even I've seen people share rifles from teams. Like I've seen a rifle get broken, and the person's going, "Oh my God, we don't have another rifle." Another team goes, "Here, use this."
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
That's the kind of sportsmanship that I really like about biathlon has an activity.
Yeah.
So, how was NFA able to help you guys in your goals as amateur athletes competing on the world stage?
Yeah, I mean, biathlon as amateur athletes, it's very self-funded, and you work all year to hopefully go overseas to Europe where that's where the big competition is. That's your goal for the year. That's where you want to make those big gains. And without financial support, that just isn't possible for us. So yeah, with the sport of NFA, we're able to really take advantage of when we get an opportunity to make a team, we can actually go, whereas some people aren't as lucky financially. So yeah, that means it makes a huge difference in just making the season worth it, all our hard work throughout the season.
Oh, excellent. Ryan, your experience is similar?
Yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference in getting us over there. And during the training summer season as well, we can spend a bit more time focusing on our training and recovering as optimally as we can, and not have to work quite as much as we might need to without your guys' support. So yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference year round.
Well, we're glad to do that. And I mean, biathlon is one of the disciplines we support in Team NFA. We also have pistol shooters, rifle shooters, sometimes shotgun shooters, and we try to support a variety of the shooting sports. Even though biathlon, particularly in Europe, often thinks of itself as just a skiing sport, and they kind of minimize the shooting. I've run into that over there a little bit, but it's very much a two-part sport, isn't it? I mean, it's two things. It's skiing and shooting. So it's glad. I'm glad that we're able to help support you in your goals and to help you get over there. And these NFA Team NFA sponsorships are an important part of what we do to help let you be the ambassadors and diplomats you are when you go to other countries or across Canada. And I hope that's a thing we see. Now, the season this year must have been really kind of rough. Did you actually manage to compete in anything else except in Europe?
Not really, no. There were we did some kind of qualifying races in a couple of different spots around Canada, so we didn't all have to come to one place. The Whistler teams did some races here. Teams from
Training.
Canmore did.
Training events.
Yeah, yeah. Oh God, I shouldn't say we had races, but yeah, some time trials to kind of have something to base the team selections off of, and that was pretty much it. Yeah.
I know it's been very rough provincially as we've been trying to get people to, stay active in the sport, and yet a big part of that is competition. Of course, competition's all shut down. So when you can't do that, what do you do? So I think people have been very creative about trying to accommodate and ensure that there is a level playing field for people in team selection. But how are things in Europe? Was it different there? They're having races or they're having competitions. So what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, we were tested. I think it was every 3 days or so. So it was definitely, they were very thorough with that. Yeah, and I think all the volunteers, staff and everyone else was tested as well. So they were able to monitor it a bit differently. But yeah, I mean, I felt safe the whole time. The mask definitely played a big part in it. You just masked everywhere except for on the course when you're on your skis. So yeah, minimize the contact between us. And yeah, like I said before, we really didn't talk to anyone else other than like the person we were staying in our room with, not even like our team. We weren't really socializing within even the team. So
oh no, that's horrible.
Yeah, it was a bit isolating, but I mean, yeah, it's what we had to do just to get over there. So yeah.
How long were you actually in Obertiliac for in the competitions? How long were you there competing? So you had 3-4 races to do each, and these would be a day apart or 2 days apart?
Yeah, I think we were there for 2 weeks total.
Yeah, from the February 21st to March 7th, I think was the time, and we had the first week to kind of adjust and train a little bit, and then the second week we had a race every other day.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty intense. That's a lot of work.
So sorry. You guys take your own rifles with you, right? When you head over there, did you guys notice any change with going through customs or even returning with customs? Was it different than any other time that you've gone across for these events and come back?
I flew out from Austria once before for Worlds about 2 years ago, and it was quite a process. And I noticed it went a lot smoother this year, so I was happily surprised with that. I think they're just overwhelmed with all the COVID regulations too. They kind of it kind of just becomes not a background thing, but it just goes a little bit more smoothly. Everyone's, I think, more experienced with the laws there too now. But yeah, I was surprised with that because last time it definitely took 2 hours for us to get through just to check all our rifles in. So,
and even coming back into Canada, it was I guess an easy process as well.
Yeah, they're normally quite good here for us. We can just show our licenses and they can check it out if they need to match serial numbers to the paperwork and stuff, and we're good to go.
Oh, that's good.
I flew out of Nuremberg a couple of years ago. I was there for a conference for the World Forum on the Future of Shooting Activities, and I got called back to security. I was in the waiting area. We were waiting to board to leave Nuremberg to fly to, I think I was flying into, might have been Toronto or Montreal, and then to Vancouver. And I heard my name, and I'm going, what? That can't have been me. I've got nothing. There's nothing on me. So I just ignored it. And then I heard it again, and I thought that was definitely me. So I go back to security, and they've got my bag all up on top of the bench. And there is the security guards, the Grens, and there are two Deutsche Polizei officers there with their green and everything. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, this doesn't look good. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I was just at one of the largest gun shows in Europe. Have I got something in my bag I'm not supposed to have? And this was at IWA Messe in Nuremberg. And so they're examining my bag, and on the X-ray it shows 2 22 cartridges. It clearly looks like 22 cartridges. Now, I know I don't have any ammunition in my bag. I didn't, and I'm thinking, gosh, did I bring a biathlon jacket? And I've got a couple of cartridges in there that I've forgotten about, because this is something that can get you arrested if you don't have the paperwork and all the rest of it. You're going to jail. I have friends over there who are lawyers, and they told me all about this. Yeah. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, well, I don't have any ammunition. It's kein Patronen. And so I open up my bag and I'm going through everything and I'm trying to figure out what the heck it is. And I'm getting more and more frantic because it's getting close to boarding time. I'm going to my shaving kit. I mean, what is this? And then I pick up a bolo tie I brought. And I had these 22 shells, 22 Magnum shells that were taken apart and used as the ornaments on the end of this stupid string tie that I never wear, that I actually brought with me for this trip. And I go, das ist meine Krawatte. And the two police officers, who were looking like wolves ready to pounce, they just turned and walked away. The Grens, okay, zip it up, we're gone. And that was it. But I thought to myself, wow, you guys must have to go through an awful lot of paperwork in order to be able to move firearms and ammunition. And you're going to want to have your own ammo. You've got to have your high quality, the different ammunition you're using. There's different brands, Eli and, the Polar. What else have we got? I'm trying to think of some of the brands we might be using on that. But
yeah, I mean, I think me and Ryan both use Polar. Seems to be the most popular one. But yeah, I mean, when you check in your rifle and your ammo, it really just depends who you get. Some people are very strict with it and other people are sort of more laid back. So yeah, it's definitely the luck of the draw with that.
Yeah, I can well imagine. And I thought to myself, my experience there could have gone sideways very quickly, because I was thinking, oh my God, I've got one of my, I had one of my, jackets that you get when you volunteer at these events. And I think, did I have anything in there that I'm not supposed to have?
Yeah, it always is worth to check your bag. Definitely at an event, just to make sure when you're going out of European airports, for sure.
Have you ever run into any trouble?
I think me and Ryan were together when a teammate had, I think, a few loose, and basically she was taken away for questioning, and we didn't see her, and we just thought she was gonna miss the flight, and then she just showed up at the gate with the officers. So yeah, it's definitely scary.
Oh, what happened, Ryan?
I don't really remember that one, but I remember one time an athlete there was a hole in his pocket, so some bullets had fallen down into the seam of his jacket.
Oh,
and he didn't know, and then I think he wore it through the security scanner. He just had them, and they're like, that's not gonna fly. So yeah, gave him the come over here, sir. And he got searched for a while and apologized profusely, but made it out unscathed. So
yeah, I've seen some funny things. I mean, I often travel with my bagpipes, and you're familiar with that kind of thing too, Ryan, given your your family. And I actually had to put them together and play them in one airport because they weren't convinced that I wasn't a bagpipe smuggler, right? So, so I'm going, okay, you want this? You got it. And that's why I got up. And I was early. I had lots of time, so I'm going to play.
You put on a concert.
Yeah, that's right. Impromptu. It's good times. So what's next for you guys? What's happening next in biathlon for Larissa Black and Ryan Elden?
I mean, me and Ryan are both making the jump to senior next year. So, I'm hoping it'll be a smooth transition. Be able to still race in Europe next year. That's the goal. Hopefully be on the IBU Cup. And this summer, just put in the hours, and hopefully we'll get some more race experience before we head over to Europe next year. That would be ideal.
Well, I guess the Europeans would have had a lot more race experience because they didn't shut down a lot of the races.
Yeah, I think most of them just came off of their IBU Cup circuit and went right into Worlds, so they were definitely more seasoned than we were. For me, I didn't do anything other than time trials before I went to Europe. So yeah, the nerves were definitely a lot higher than they normally are.
So in other words, they were cheating. They practiced.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? What's happening?
Yeah, pretty much the same. The jump to senior is definitely a bit of a hurdle. I think it's a bit of a drastic kind of level jump from junior to the senior category. So definitely some work that has to be done and some growth that needs to happen before we're ready to race at that level. But we've raced on the IBU before and have some experience there already. So I think after a solid summer of training, we can definitely get over there again, race with the big boys.
Absolutely. Now, what are you using for rifles? You know, our viewers, our listeners are often interested in the firearm side of things. So, you know, do you want to tell us a little bit about your biathlon rifles?
Yeah. So they're 22 long rifles. And basically how it works is they're sort of on sort of like a harness type thing. So it actually goes on your back. Yeah, and that's how you're able to ski with it.
What brand are you shooting though? Like Anschutz?
Yeah, so it's an Anschutz, sort of like a barrel, and then the stocks you can pick from a few different stocks. Yeah, they go quite fancy up to, full carbon stocks. I have a wood stock, but yeah, and you basically just need a certain weight to the rifle. Ideally you have all the weight in your barrel and less in your stock, hence like a carbon stock type of thing. There's lots of add-ons you can add. You can have barrel weights that go on the end of your barrel that put the weight on your barrel. But yeah.
And helping for stabilizing. And
Exactly.
you're shooting at a distance of 50 meters to your targets. And you're having to read wind. It's iron sights, bolt action only, using Fortner actions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty complex thing. And people are always surprised that the accuracy that you're getting out of these rifles at 50 meters, and you're trying to hit basically a 4-inch circle when you're standing and a 2-inch circle when you're prone. That's a
approximately
rough measurement. That's a rough measurement. A lot of people would understand that. Now, what about you, Ryan? What are you using for a rifle?
Yeah, I'm the same. Anschutz barrel. I have a French make of stock. From there's a guy in France that makes the Sansign stocks, so they're quite popular. I think. Larissa has one as well. So.
Oh, so you guys are in the cool bunch. You have the fancy gear. That's expensive stuff too.
Yeah.
Yes, it definitely is not cheap.
No. What is for somebody out there who's thinking, okay, they're shooting 22s. What's a 22 biathlon rifle all tricked out cost for someone who's competing at the level you're at?
The commitment for the nice Anschutz rifle with a decent stock is probably around, depending on what kind of customizable parts, if you have some a special bolt knob or you need some specific butt hooks or something like that, probably between $4,000 and $5,000.
Yeah, the $4,000 precision rifle. And, and you're basically using just two positions when you're shooting. You're prone and standing.
Yeah.
There's no kneeling position in biathlon. And you also use this for summer training, because there's a whole bunch of different types of biathlon. You can do running biathlon. You can do bicycle biathlon. You're not allowed to carry a rifle when you're moving in that way, but you have a whole different range of activities. And and you've both been at biathlon a long time. That's the case, isn't it? How did you get into it? What got you interested in this crazy sport that you go zip around with skis and you shoot at little reactive targets?
Yeah, I mean, growing up in Squamish, we always had Whistler Olympic Park to ski at. So, and that range there is beautiful. It's the Olympic range from 2010. So I don't think it was too difficult for me to get started. I think for Ryan, he definitely had some different circumstances for ranges, but I just started with a like, I think it was like a tri-biathlon club day where we all shot the club rifles, and yeah, I was pretty much hooked after that. I just really like the aspect of, like you said, it's two very different, almost sports, and just like the slowing down in the range and like the fast skiing part, putting them together is definitely a mental battle. And yeah, you always are improving. It's never good enough. You always want to be better. So.
And it's fun to see those reactive targets go down and the little white paddles come up.
Yeah, that's definitely what you want.
How about you, Ryan? The same kind of experience? I mean, Quesnel's quite a different venue than the Olympic Park in Whistler.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a stark contrast there for sure. No, I was after the kind of learn to ski jackrabbit program in Quesnel. I finished that when I was about 10. And then if I wanted to continue learning how to ski and still be involved in the community, biathlon was kind of the next step. There was no just cross-country skiing team there at the time. So I had some friends who were a little bit older from the Jackrabbit program who were doing it already. So I joined the club. And
your dad competes in biathlon, or has up to recently.
Yeah. So when I was about 12, I think, the coaches that I started with in Quesnel retired, and my dad stepped up as the club coach because I was doing it, and my sister wanted to be involved as well. So he stepped up, and along with, I think, another parent from another athlete my age who was doing it at the time. So he's still at it. He's still coaching in Quesnel and gets out and trains as much as he can.
I've always been impressed with him when he's competing. I mean, he's a serious competitor, and he also has a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's definitely a machine out there.
Now, does that inspire you to do more too? Have you ever had, say, competed against your dad? Not really the same categories, but have you ever gone out and tried running around with the old man to see how that goes?
Not for a long time.
I know my daughters kick my butt when we go skiing now. So
Is there any other shooting sports that you guys participate in? Any other disciplines?
No, it's only ever been biathlon for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, only biathlon for me as well.
So do you guys go to the range and shoot handguns or shotguns, or is it just strictly practice for biathlon?
Yeah, it's just been strictly biathlon practice. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how I'd be able to handle something different, but haven't had the chance yet.
One of the old coaches up here, Jeremy Campbell, was a big believer in handgun shooting as a means of building focus for biathletes. I had quite a conversation with him after he kind of got away from biathlon, and he's been very active in handgun shooting.
Yeah,
it's quite interesting. Do any of your other family members participate, Larissa? I wasn't aware if you had any family members competing or doing anything in biathlon.
No, yeah, my parents both cross-country ski, but never biathlon. They're keen. They always want to come. And in the summer, this summer, I did most of my shooting at the Legacy Park in Squamish. So I was on my own, and they were keen to come and watch it. And I think they want to learn more about it. But yeah, just cross-country skiing for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, when you're competing at a high level and you're trying to get onto the world level, maybe go to the Olympics someday. That's certainly a goal of a lot of biathletes, and we've seen some successes in biathlon from Canada, in British Columbia in particular. Megan Tandy, who did spectacularly well. Sarah Beaudry also is really a force to be reckoned. She was over there with you guys too, I believe, doing quite well.
Yeah, she was on the World Cup. I think she was, definitely making some good results. So happy for her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty cool team. But I guess you guys are now into your isolation from having returned from Europe. Did you have to do isolation when you got there as well, and now you're in isolation on your return? How's that going?
No, none when we got there. No, we needed a negative test within 2 days of our flight, and then when we got there, we kind of stayed in our bubble as much as we could, getting to the hotel in from Vienna to Obertiliac on the bus, and we tried to social distance as much as possible, and then we're tested right away when we got there, and stayed apart and isolated as much as we could until our test results came back negative, and then we were kind of welcomed into the IBU kind of competition bubble, which they did a good job of making sure everyone was safe, and yeah.
And welcome as well. I know the hospitality levels for these things can be pretty impressive, but I mean, and it must be difficult with the kind of environment everybody is under with the pandemic issue, and still trying to do all of these things. Were volunteers quite a bit less at these events than usual?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly noticed not as many volunteers. I think they just had the minimum amount that they needed just to avoid like exposure with other people. But yeah, I mean, with that, they're definitely working hard, if not harder, than other years to get everything done. But yeah, they did a great job for sure.
Well, that's fabulous. Well, I think there's is there anything else you wanted to mention about your experience, being Team NFA members, representing Canada, doing a sport that you're both clearly very passionate about, that you wanted to share with us about your activities and what you're looking forward to, hopes and dreams and all that?
Yeah. I mean, my long-term goals would definitely be on the national team and hopefully Olympics one day. Yeah, being on a team like NFA and having Sarah on that team just makes me look towards like what can be in the future. She's, very successful, and yeah, having the NFA sticker on my rifle definitely makes me proud to go out and compete as hard as I can. So,
do you ever get asked about that? Does anyone say?
I have a few times in Canmore just by teammates. So, yeah, I give them a little blurb on it.
Yeah, that's and I guess one of the Canadian athletes, Carson Campbell, who's on our Team NFA, he's headed south of the border to do competitions now. I think he's working with the Americans.
Yeah, I heard that.
But he's still a Canadian, and he's still part of our team. So there we are.
Yeah, awesome.
But and what about you, Ryan? What are your aspirations for the future with your activities in your sport?
Yeah, I think national team, the 2026 Olympics would be really awesome. I was a bit devastated that they're not going to be in Calgary this time, but that's okay. But yeah, it's definitely means a lot to be able to go over internationally and have some Canadian brands to represent in addition to the team and my country. So it's definitely an amazing feeling.
And do you feel like the gear you have, the equipment you have, is at par with everybody else's out there, or are you're good with your gear? It's just working harder and training harder and getting up the skills. Is there anything that's holding you back?
Yeah, I think the gear's great. Once you get to the higher end of things, everything is kind of similar anyway. So yeah, just some more hard work.
Same thing, Larissa?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Luckily in Biathlon, as rifle wise, we're all pretty even in that sense. We all kind of have sort of like the same type of makes, models, and that sort of thing. And then ski brands as well. But yeah, it just comes down to who's willing to work harder. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for joining us today on NFA Talk, and I hope our listening audience has enjoyed this exposure to Team NFA and their activities. And we're very glad that you represented us well at Obertiliac, and we look forward to watching your careers as you continue to engage in this valuable, important, and very healthy shooting discipline, combining skiing with shooting, and just generally being something that's one of the more popular activities in the world. I mean, when you get 20,000 people out to cheer you on at some of these events in Europe, it surprises me that we get a few hundred in Canada. So,
yeah, exactly.
anyway, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll hand it back over to Jordan.
All right, guys. So that was a great episode. Again, Ryan Elden, Larissa Black from Team NFA, and thank you everybody for tuning in and listening to us. This has been another episode of NFA
Thanks
Talk.
for listening to this episode of NFA Talk. Like and follow the NFA on social media and sign up to become a member.